Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Rachel Bryers. We are keeping our eye on the tropics. In the Gulf of Mexico, we still do have that disturbance, and we are watching it very closely. Now, I'm going to bring you the latest on what we are getting now from the National Hurricane Center. So here is a current look at potential Storm 2. Basically, just a disturbance right now. But as we head into the next 24 to 48 hours, that's when we could start to see things change. I would say Thursday morning, as we push into tomorrow morning, we're forecasting this to become a tropical depression. The National Hurricane Center then forecasts it to become a tropical storm by Thursday night and a hurricane on Friday. So that's a little bit closer in-depth look. But you can see that the National Hurricane Center has also put out that forecast cone. Now, this forecast cone goes as far east as the very eastern portions of Louisiana, but it goes as far west as over here by us, so over here in southeast Texas. So this could eventually, it could possibly impact as far over as Louisiana or as far over as here. So this is something we want to make sure that we continue to watch very closely. You want to make sure that you are staying very weather aware as we head into the next few days. Now, this cone, it is not set in stone. It could shift either way as this disturbance starts to form, because right now it hasn't formed into any sort of tropical cyclone. It's not a depression. It is not a storm. So it hasn't actually formed yet. It's just right now just a disturbance. But we should know even more as we head into really the next 24 hours once we do see that start to form into a depression or a tropical storm. If it does end up getting into depression or up to a storm, it'll end up being named Barry. So we're going to be watching out for eventually Barry as we head into the next few days. So that's a closer look at that cone. So right now the center takes it up into the very western portions of Louisiana, but again, it could shift either direction. So even though the center is not right over southeast Texas, we do still want to make sure that we are paying attention, especially as we push into this weekend. Now with this, in terms of watches, there are a few watches for areas along the Gulf. Good news for us over here in Texas, we are not seeing any watches out for us quite yet. There are some watches though over into Louisiana, over towards New Orleans. There is a storm surge watch. There is also a tropical storm watch out for that area. But again, for us, we do not have any watches out. It is possible, though, that they could end up putting those out as we head into really the next 24 hours. So something we will monitor there. But what are the probabilities of us actually seeing tropical storm winds? So here's a look at our probability map that kind of gives you an idea on who could see some of these tropical storm winds. So basically for us, that would mean wind speeds over 39 miles per hour. So you can see in Lake Charles, they have a 70% chance of seeing tropical storm winds. In Houston, 41%. In Galveston, 60%. In New Orleans, 37%. Now head over towards Corpus Christi. Only a 7% chance of seeing tropical storm winds. So what does that look like in your backyard? Here's a closer look at your percentages. So you can see the further off to the east you get, the higher your chance is to see tropical storm winds right now, as of our latest data. So you can see in Houston, there's your 40% chance of seeing tropical storm winds. Over towards Victoria and Palacios, it drops down to a 10 to 20% chance. And then as we push over further off to the east, over towards Winnie as well as Beaumont, about a 60% chance. So that's tropical storm winds. Now, in terms of hurricane force winds, here's a closer look at that. So you're going to notice the numbers are a lot lower. So good news there. So for Houston, we have a 5% chance of seeing hurricane force winds. That would be wind speeds over 74 miles per hour. In Galveston, a 10% chance. In Lake Charles, an 11% chance. And in New Orleans, coming in at only around a 1% chance. Now, we are going to continue to monitor this very closely throughout the next few days. Coming in from the National Hurricane Center, they are actually forecasting that this could produce rain accumulations, depending on where it ends up, between 6 to 12 inches. Now, this is obviously dependent on where this tropical system actually ends up. So it could cause some issues, though. So it's something we're going to be watching because there are a couple of scenarios for us. If it goes a little bit further off to the right, that would be better in our case. We're not going to see quite as much. But if it comes a little bit further off to the left over towards us, obviously we could be dealing with much higher impacts there. Now, right now, the way we are looking at that forecast cone is that it does look like that is forecasted to become a Category 1 hurricane before it technically makes landfall. Now, what does that mean? That means we could be looking at wind speeds in between 74 to 95 miles per hour, depending on where this ends up, and some moderate damage will be possible with this system. So that is what it is forecasted at the moment. But again, here's a look at that forecasted cone. You can see it stretches all across the state of Louisiana, and it does extend down down here into our neck of the woods into southeast Texas. So something we will continue to watch. I would say the main time frame of concern will be this weekend as we push, I would say, into Friday night, as well as going into Saturday and going into Sunday. So something to definitely watch if you do have plans coming up this weekend. And we will be giving you all the latest right here on ABC13.com. And we'll also be giving you all the latest coming up this afternoon and evening on ABC 13.